bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Good Tuesday evening, and welcome into the High School Fan Zone on 100.7 FM. I am Randy Rosetta. We will be joined shortly by Monterey coach Judd Thrash, and I think he's bringing a player with him. We'll see. Ran into a little bit of traffic on the way over from 47th Street. So we'll jump into the Plainsman Fan Zone as soon as Judd gets here. Judd and mysterious guest, I'm not sure who it will be. Plainsman lost to Amarillo High 50-42 in their District 2 5A Division I opener last Friday. Really good game. Monterey was ahead 29-19 at halftime, let it get away. We'll get them to talk about that. I think Monterey is very close to breaking through for something big, and they've got a big one coming up. They play Coronado Mustangs this weekend in that annual bloodbath out at Lowry Field. That game will be a 7 p.m. kickoff. That's Coronado's home game, but you'll have dueling radio broadcast of that one. You'll have 96.9 The Bull for Coronado's side and 93.7 The Eagle for Monterey's version of the broadcast. Pregame for Monterey's side with David Thetford and Randy Dean will be 6:30. Pregame for Coronado on 96.9 The Bull with Kirk. I just blanked on his name. He's just a legend in Lubbock, and I can't think of his name. That will start at 6:45 p.m. I am really looking forward to that. That's the game of the week on a local high school sports website, and be the first time I've covered it in a few years. There's been other big games that week that have drawn me away, but I'm looking forward to being there at Lowry Field and letting that one soak in, because it's a little bit earlier this year than they've played the last couple of years, and that one has pretty important early impact on the district race and playoff positioning, because you don't want to go 0-2 in a 7-team district, because that leaves you scrambling the rest of the way. You go 1-1, you gain a little bit of confidence, you start to kind of relax and just play football. Both are coming off of games where they played really well. Coronado lost to Tascosa 29-16, let it get away a little bit at the end, but had a lead at halftime, much like Monterey. And I mentioned Monterey had the lead. A lot of good football, I believe, ahead of those two. We'll run down the scores from last week besides those two. Friendship eked out a 35-34 win against Midland Christian. That one surprised me a little bit. Then talking to Jay Northcutt earlier this week, he kind of explained how Midland Christian approached things, kind of drained the clock quite a bit, and kept that high-powered Friendship offense on the sideline. Friendship offense still did its thing. Holden Phillips threw for 330 yards and 5 touchdowns, but they only ran 38 plays, which I told him I've seen Friendship run 38 plays in about 3 drives before. So great game plan for Midland Christian. They executed it really well and kept Friendship close. And just about they went for a 2-point conversion at the end. Friendship's defense came up with a stop, very similar to the Lubbock Cooper game against Friendship last year when that happened. Lubbock Cooper, speaking of, last Thursday night beat Plainview 30-17 in their District 2 Division 5 or 5A Division 2 district opener. Lubbock Cooper really controlled that from the beginning. Had a rough first half penalty-wise and turnover-wise, and then adjusted. They're playing without Jackson Austin, who looks like he may be done for the season, unfortunately. Great dual-threat offensive guy for the Pirates, and he suffered an injury against Friendship. Suited up. They tried to get a play and tried to get him into the end zone the other night for his final touchdown of his high school career, possibly, and got wiped away by penalty, which was a little bit emblematic of the night. Let's see. Lubbock High was off last week. They played Thursday night against Tascosa in their district opener. Big one for them. Tascosa obviously coming off the win. Biggest game last week in Lubbock, I think, was Liberty getting their first ever win. Patriots beat Fort Stockton 35-28 and only got their first win. It was in their very first home game at Patriot Stadium. Quite a week, quite a accomplishment for the young Patriots, who had started 0-4, had been close a couple of times, went back and forth with Monahans, and then really ran into a buzzsaw against Seminole the week before, but didn't let that faze them. They came out and played a really good game against what was an unbeaten Fort Stockton team and managed to get the win. Lubbock Christian, impressive at home, beat New Deal 46-7. Eagles, similar to Liberty, had a tough loss a few weeks before to a ranked team on the road in Stamford and have come back and really played well since then, beat Wellington and then manhandled New Deal. Trinity Christian kind of ran into the same fate as Lubbock Christian, went on the road and played a ranked team and lost at Stratford 30-12. I've not talked to Riley White. I'm curious to get his take on what happened. The Lions are kind of a work in progress. Lost a lot of guys, but I have a hunch they'll make a run here and TAPS 1-5A before it's all said and done. I'm going to make sure I got everybody. The two 6-man teams in town won. Kingdom Prep and Christ the King both got impressive wins. I think that about wraps it up. We're coming up on a break here on the High School Fan Zone. Hopefully when we come back, we can jump into the Plainsman Fan Zone with Judd Thrash and a player that he brings with him. This is Randy Rosetta with 100.7 FM on the High School Fan Zone.
Bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to 100.7 The Score. If you're watching on TV, you can see I am indeed joined by Monterey coach Judd Thrash and junior receiver, and anything else, or are you just a receiver?
Receiver.
That's plenty. Yes, Cam Taylor. So now we can jump in and say it's the Plainsman Fan Zone. Judd, I've said this before you got here. From the looks of things and the guy who covered the game for me the other night, it sounded like you guys did a lot of good things the other night, got the lead, took it to halftime, and then as I was thinking about it, I loved your quotes about we've got to learn to win games. You got to learn to – sometimes learning to deal or to handle prosperity is something that you have to learn as well. When you get that lead, figure out a way to make it a little bit bigger, make them chase you a little bit more.
Yeah, our number one thing is handling adversity. And so it's not football, it's mental. Like everyone saw we were up 10 points. You know, that team beat us by 30 last year. Yep. And I can't remember the last time a Monterey team was up on Amarillo High. You know, they got years and years of tradition. We were up by 10. And we had a span of, you know, I think it was 3 turnovers right there in a span, 21 points. We were down. You know, we fumbled. One of our running backs fumbled. They scoop and scored. We were down by 3, and you could see some of our heads start to drop. So what I've told the team is I've realized it's not a football thing, it's a mental thing. And so what we've tried to do this a week is we've had mental training. We've started having conversations about adversity, real life adversity, football adversity, and every day after practice we've focused on adversity and mental stuff because it's not football. It's more like when something goes bad, we've got to be able to respond to it. You know, a lot of people say E plus R equals O. Events in your life are going to happen, but how you respond will get you the outcome that you want. And for example, let me go back to Amarillo High. You have a fumble, we're down by 3. You have another turnover, okay, then we're down by 10. You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to fight? Are you going to continue to the same path, or are you going to drop your head? And good teams, the tradition-rich teams that you play, they're down by 10, they're never going to waver. You know, we've been in that situation multiple times. Friendship last year, Tascosa, all this year, Wiley, who else? Odessa, and then Amarillo. You know, we're playing some really, really good football. The one thing that we got to do better is handle adversity.
Yep, my high school coach, and this is going to show my age a little bit, one of his favorite things when we'd have a game like that is he'd make us sit and watch one of the Rocky movies. He'd show Rock. You know, if you ever seen the Rocky movies, you know what I'm talking about, Kim? Okay, so I'm not aging myself too much. He'd show Rocky get knocked down and get all bloodied, and he'd just keep coming back. He's keep coming back. That's what you got to do in football, too.
Absolutely.
So if I'm looking at the math right, you're up by 10. Amarillo High scored 3 touchdowns in about 5 minutes.
Yep.
And just flips the game. Cam, what Coach was talking about there, how coaches can tell you that. They can put ideas in your head and get you ready, but as players, what do you have to do to take that to the field to put it to work? Hold that microphone up real close.
Just no matter what happens, just keep your head up and just keep playing your game, keep doing you, and just keep your teammates' head up and just tell them next play mentality, as Coach always tells us. That's just one thing that needs to stick in our mind from here on out, just next play mentality. Just keep going no matter what happens in the game. No matter what happens, no matter like when we fumbled, we still got to keep our head high. Just it's still a ball game. We still got to win. We still got to play to win, and just
I'm gonna try math again here. You guys have scored 91 points in the last 2 games.
Yes, sir.
That's at some point that's got to equal the right outcome. If you're
no doubt, we're putting up points. Offensively, Landon, Cam, Q Boyd, Luke, they're doing a great job. Dez Williams, Kyrie, they're putting up points. Where you see on defense, sometimes we'll have some turnovers and we're giving up. For every time we have a turnover, the other team scores or has a short field. So a lot of that equates to, it's been equating to 14 or 21. Every time we get a turnover, that possession, the next possession, we're not scoring. So we got to take advantages of our turnovers. And then when we do turn over the ball, we've got to bounce back and play great defense. And so I'm proud of what Cam's done this year. Talking about Cam, he, Cam has come a long way. He in off season he got a lot better. He started late. He had an injury before football season started, and he wasn't shining like he normally does. And I just told him, I said, Cam, keep putting in the work. It's gonna come back. And sure enough, he's been working and it's come back. And he's doing a great job out there on the field. He's making some heck of catches. He's doing well and playing hard.
We'll talk more about Cam. We'll talk a lot about Monterey Coronado coming up on Friday, 7 p.m. at Lowry Field, 96.9 the Bull and 93.7 the Eagle. Will have dueling broadcasts on that game. This is Randy Rosetta. We'll be right back with the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 FM.
Bringing you the latest news from Monterey Athletics. This is the Plainsman Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Plainsman Fan Zone on 100.7 FM. I am Randy Rosetta. I'm with Judd Thrash, Monterey's third-year coach. If you're watching on TV, he's to my far left. I'm with Cam Taylor. Taylor, right?
Yes, sir.
I keep wanting to say Cam Williams. Who's Cam Williams? Is he somebody in town?
I don't know.
I think maybe he's a former basketball player. I think he played at that other school, that red and gold school, which you guys are seeing a lot of red and gold in your mind right now.
Yeah.
Because you got Coronado on Friday. Coach, when he got here, I remember we talked. I don't know if he had been introduced to the fact that it's a pretty feisty rivalry. I think he's realized it is now.
Yeah.
And I asked you during the break. You know a lot of these guys. There's not a lot of strangers when you get out there on the field against Coronado, is there?
Yeah, that makes it more hype. Like it gets us more excited for the game. Makes us we know it's gonna be very intense, but it's gonna make it more intense.
Well, I'm gonna let Coach talk about this because you have to measure that because this is a big game for not just the rivalry's sake, but this is still very early in the district season. Both teams played well last week, lost halftime leads, but took some steps in the right direction. So, Judd, how important is this game in terms of finding a way to get where you guys want to get here in a few weeks?
This week, we said it's composure week. It's about us. Last year I felt like we got too emotional in this game, and so none of this is just an ordinary game for us. We're focused on us. We're focused on getting better, and we're focused on keeping it about us. It's like I told the guys, we're not going to do social media. We're not going to do all that. We're going to be composed, and we're going to have composure this week, and we're not going to be emotional. We're going to play our game. And so that's what this week is about for us. It's about composure and respecting our opponent and keeping it about us and correct the things that we need to correct.
You've talked about what you guys needed to do better. When you look at Coronado and when you looked at video of them, they've done some good things. They had one rough week. But when you look at them on video, what do you see about them that you guys have to be ready for?
Offensively, they have a good quarterback. He does a great job operating. They got a good tight end, Dom, and Alan Gann is good. Come in every once in a while, play some offense. Finch, I think is his name. He does a good job running the ball. He's a tough runner. We'll have to swarm the football. They've got some good receivers. They got good skill. So we got to tackle well, run to the football, and execute what we do on defense. And then defensively, their linebacker's a good player. He was there last year, inside linebacker. I think his last name's Washington.
Zay Washington.
He does a good job for him. Gant does a good job for him at safety. Those are the two that stand out. But I just feel like we just got to go out and play our game and execute, our calls on defense and execute our calls on offense.
This one turned into a kind of a defensive slobber knocker last year. Went right down to the last couple of minutes. And if I ask you to say what it's going to look like, you and I can say, yeah, it's going to be defensive again. It'll end up being 50-49 or something like that. Cam, I know what you probably would like it to be. I'm guessing you would like it to be either a shootout or you guys get that offense going and your defense locks down.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that, I would like it for it to be a shootout, but I'm really hoping for us to blow them out. I just got trust in my team. Feel like it's not going to be a close game, really.
You, as a receiver, Coach mentioned a couple of their defensive backs. That's where one of their areas they're strong. Their defense is probably their strength to begin with. But Alan Gant, Abraham Ragland, a couple of guys that have been around for a while in the secondary. As a receiver, do you kind of get yourself hyped up, ready to kind of compete with guys like that?
Yeah, like this past week, we went against some very good DBs. Yep. We went against some very good DBs and well-experienced DBs, but I'm just gonna do me every time I get on the field, and it don't matter who's in front of me really. But yeah,
Coach told me that he had to kind of get you ready for this season because he I don't know if you had just didn't know that you were ready, but he knew you were ready.
Yeah,
what have you done to get better as the years gone on?
I know in the weight room I took it way more serious than I have in the past years because I knew I was gonna be on the varsity and having playing a big role in the offense. And I went through an injury over the summer, and coming back it wasn't easy. Like the first week back, I threw up at practice. We have no video of that, so we won't show them. Yeah, yeah, I had threw up at practice first week back, and then ever since then it's just been a breeze for me. Really, I've been locked in ever since.
Well, I have a feeling that Coronado and Monterey players are both going to be pretty locked in Friday night, 6 p.m. at Lowry Fields. Coronado's homecoming, so they're going to have a little bit more swirling around them than usual. That will be on 96.9 The Bull and on 93.7 The Eagle. This is Randy Rosetta with 100.7 FM. We'll be back after the break with the Westerner Fan Zone.